Honestly, their number one question, and I do really feel like this is hanging over the entire season, are they going to trade Joey Gallo? Like, he's the face of the franchise, is he not?
Yes. Sometimes you want to have, a current, I guess he is kind of a current all-star because of 2019, but you want to have a guy that's considered, MVP worthy when you say face of the franchise or a perennial all-star when you are looking at that guy. And maybe Joey Gallo becomes that. But here's what's going to be interesting. For his trade value to be what the Rangers want, he has to be no doubt an all-star. Not just he represents the Rangers. It's like no doubt he's one of the 3 best outfielders in the American League. It's tough because there's like 6 unbelievable outfielders in the National League, and there's not as many in the American League. But then all of a sudden, he becomes one of the 3 best outfielders in the American League. We know Trout's number 1. And then it's tough because then the fan base starts falling in love with greatness, right? You're like,
yes.
I get that we're not winning games, right? The Rangers are going to struggle to win more games than they lose. But if this guy at the All-Star break has 25 to 30 home runs and is batting over 250, we're going to say, hey, we built a new stadium for you. We gave you $500 million, at least the city people that live in Arlington did. And we deserve to keep Joey Gallo. Yet at that point, now his trade market has taken a total 180 because from what I understand, the Rangers were willing to trade Joey Gallo this offseason, but they wanted to get what would be considered, you're trading for a perennial all-star 45, 50 home run guy. And teams were like, no, we're not.
Correct.
And so that's when all trades were like, well, we're not going to discuss Joey Gallo. The Rangers were like, if you don't see him as a perennial all-star franchise-changing player, we're not talking about trades.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, Bassick. This has always been the feeling that I've gotten, but were the Rangers looking for the value that Joey Gallo thinks he has as well? Because I get the feeling that, like, Joey Gallo thinks he has a certain value. Maybe that's from Scott Boras. And so the Rangers also think he has that value. And the rest of the baseball and the fan base is like, yeah, probably not.
That's a very good question. And I guess in 2 years, we'll find out. After this season's over and the next season, we'll find out. But teams do love to pay for power. I'll always remember B.J. Upton being a bad player overall. I shouldn't say bad. He was below average in a lot of things, but what he was above average in was power at the position that he played. And he got paid a crap load of money because of power. And I just think teams love paying for power.
Now,
and so I just think that he will get, as long as he has a pretty good year this year and a pretty good year next year, let's just say he pops 80 home runs over the next 2 seasons, but he bats 220 over those 2 years, like a combined 220 hitter, but with 80 home runs and a pretty good OPS, I think he's going to get like 6 years and $150 to $180 million.
How much would he get if he hit 80 home runs just this year?
Oh, God. Now it turns into Chris Davis, right?
Oh, my God.
Where you're like, because he would win the MVP.
Yep.
And you would go, well, is he the best player in the American League for the future, too?
Yeah.
And at that point, you're probably looking at, you're lucky because he has 1 more year left, but you would be looking at a guy that would be close to like 8 years at $40 million a year.
God, people would be so mad if you traded him, man. How much can the Rangers get from that rotation? I mean, we just had the opportunity a couple days ago to talk with Dane Dunning, who I know you have said for a while now you believe will be the Rangers' best pitcher this year. But look, man, on paper, I'm saying it, you don't have to say it, this looks like a very poor rotation.
There's going to be a lot of opportunity in this rotation, I'll say that, because I think that they're going to be running a lot of different people in and out of the rotation to see who can possibly be part of this future rotation. A guy that I was really high on when they traded for was Colby Allard.
Yes.
He had a really bad short season last year. I'm not totally giving up on him, but this is it for him, right? This is, if he's going to prove that he's really a major league starting pitcher because of how much I think opportunity here is in Texas, is he has to show that he can kind of put up an ERA at least in the low 4s.
Wouldn't you love to be a young pitcher here? Like whether it's
yes.
Allard or Dunning, or because of that opportunity.
Taylor
that you
Hearn,
said.
possibly. Like,
Yeah.
I know Taylor Hearn, I'm not sure how much he's going to get an opportunity to start. Kyle Cody is another guy. Like, I'm hoping at the end of this year for the rotation, this is tough. I'm trying to use my words right because I don't want people to take me too extreme, because sometimes as a
Sure.
7, it sounds extreme when I'm not meaning it to be. Enneagram there is Kyle Gibson doesn't matter that much to the future of the Texas Rangers, but Kyle Cody does, Dane Dunning does, Taylor Hearn does, Colby Allard does, possibly Palumbo does. I'm hoping out of all of these names, and there's 2 or 3 more, that 3 guys we can say at the end of the year, not that they had a great year, but I really think those guys are starting pitchers in the major leagues and can contribute to a good major league rotation. Because if we get to the end of the year like we did last year, right? We got in a short season, it was short, we got no answers that any of the young guys can be a starting pitcher at a major league level right now.
Yeah.
And that was a tough one, right? Because we're going into this we have Kyle Gibson, who's a number 4 starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. Like, if we started putting him on the teams that are competing for playoff spots in World Series.
I think that is generous.
Right. Okay, so number 5.
He's like a number 12 with the Dodgers.
Well, yeah.
That's true.
And I'm not going to judge you. That's unfair, but yeah.
And same with the Padres, right? He would not be a top 6 guy with the Padres.
I think he is a fringe starter. I really, really do.
And so hopefully at the end of this year, we get 2 or 3 of the younger guys that are establishing themselves, that they can go out there and they can give you 5 to 6 innings, and they can give you an outings where they're giving up 3 runs or less and giving you a great chance to win the games that they go out and pitch.
I want to skip ahead to question number 4 because it's so intriguing, and then the answer fascinates me even more from MLB.com. The question for the Rangers is, what is the plan here? Now listen to this answer from MLB.com. It wasn't long ago that the Rangers were considered the most well-run organization in baseball. It's not like they've gotten dumber since then. There are still many smart people involved with the Rangers, but the rest of baseball has caught up. The Rangers now look like a team without a lot of talent on the major league roster and not a particularly top-ranked farm system. They haven't really done a full rebuild, but maybe it's time. Maybe it's past time. I mean, it's definitely past time, and I think you're in the midst of the rebuild now. But the part that fascinated me was it's not like they've gotten dumber since then. Is there not some thought out there, whether you agree or not, that dumber is probably too harsh of a word, but the smartest people in the room left the organization?
It really makes me, and to jump sports, sorry, but it reminded me, that description you read reminded me of Chip Kelly, right? Like where he was at Oregon, and it seemed like he was on the cutting edge of college football and football in general.
Man, did it ever?
And now, I mean, even though he had a stint in the NFL where it didn't seem to work, and he came back to the NCAA, he is not on the cutting edge. He's not even near the cutting edge, and it seemed like he had the one trick, and then once everybody caught up to it, there was nothing else there. And would that description be anywhere near what we're looking at with this Rangers front office?
I think, I can see that. I don't know. I've heard that the Rangers have really fallen behind in accumulating good data, if that makes sense, kind of your analytics. And now I heard that they really invested a lot going into 2020, but then you had a really shortened season and all of this, and so we don't know how much that's going to impact. But yes, losing Thad and A.J. Preller was not good. And throughout the history of when the Rangers were really smart, they were really smart with trades. I mean, let's be honest here. If you go back and look at the 2011 and 2012, or 2010 through 2010 through 12 Texas Rangers, that team was primarily built off of trades and some free agent stuff. It was not built off of developing your own players, right?
Yeah, and we sit here all these years later, and we can't develop players at all.
I mean, the developed players you had then were Ian Kinsler. That was a great development. Mitch Moreland was pretty good. Made the All-Star team one time in his career. And then you had Derek Holland and Neftali Felice. Is that it? Michael Young was a trade.
Yeah,
Josh Hamilton was a trade.
I give the Rangers definitely some credit for developing Michael Young to a certain extent. Like, I know he didn't start here, but you thought he got some of his development here, yes?
Yes, but then if we do go back all the way to Michael Young, John Daniels wasn't even in the organization when that happened.
Yeah. Okay.
That was 2000, I believe, was that trade, or 2000? I think, 99 might have been the Michael Young trade, 1999.
All right, I get what you're saying.
Did we mention C.J. Wilson?
Yeah, that was good. That was a development there too, yes.
So the last one on here, and I don't know how invested you guys are. I know certainly Gallo is invested. How will this park play since you're seeing a full run of it? Like, I know we saw it last year with no fans and only a handful of games compared to what you usually get. Do you believe it's going to still play pretty damn big, or with the roof open, is that going to change a lot of the time? Is that going to change the dynamic?
I think it'll play bigger than we're used to. It's definitely going to play bigger than the ballpark in Arlington. But I did go to those playoff games, and the Dodgers didn't seem to have a problem hitting home runs. And little Ozzie Albies, the second baseman for the Braves, he had no problem hitting, multiple home runs in the NLCS and hitting them way out of the park, not just barely, not just wall scrapers. So it's going to play bigger than Ranger fans are used to. It is one of the bigger parks in Major League Baseball, but if you can hit the ball of the park, whether you're 5'8" second baseman Ozzie Albies or whether you're a stud like Corey Seager, the ball will travel and get out of the park. You have to have the hitters to hit it.